Hello everyone, I am Niharika Tiwari from Sociobits, and today at Sociobits Talks, we have a very special guest. If you have been following the automobile industry and are also a travel enthusiast, then you know that Mr. Bob Rupani goes hand in hand with the industry. Thank you so much for joining us today. Mr. Bob Rupani is a best-selling author, a pioneering automobile journalist, and a driving and travel enthusiast. Thank you for joining us, sir. It's a pleasure to have you at Sociobits.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, sir, like I mentioned, your introduction is filled with everything. So, you are a man of experiences. Could you please tell us how does Bob Rubani defines himself?
A person who's not worked a single day in his life.
That's interesting.
Yes, because I have always done what I enjoy.
Hmm.
So I've had fun. Though, to many people, it's like, oh, you made a career out of auto journalism, been running and editing so many magazines. But to me, it's all been about having fun and following my passions. So that's why if someone asks me, what do you do? I say, I have fun. And I've never worked a single day in my life.
That's interesting. So, but did you always knew that you wanted to be in the automobile industry? Like, how did you come?
So right from my childhood in school, I was very interested in cars. My elder brother was into cars, and he did a little motor racing. Then I got involved in it. Then I started modifying cars and did a little motor racing and rallying myself. So I was always into cars right from the childhood. I mean, if the family knew. So even when I think I was a little kid, everyone on my birthdays or whatever, the gifts I got were toy cars, model cars. It was always cars. So everyone knew he's fascinated with them. And then, of course, 1986 is when India's first auto magazine started, a magazine called Indian Auto Journal. The person who became the editor was a dear friend of mine, Gautam Sen. And he then came to me and he said, this magazine is starting and I want you to help me with it and write for us and things like that. And so that's how my journey as a journalist started, something I'd never imagined. But it was to do with cars, it was related to driving and reviewing and testing cars. So, right from 86, and then that journey continues. I've never stopped.
Okay. And what about traveling? So now that you are a seasoned traveler, can you describe your first experience?
So, I'll tell you where traveling is concerned, when you are into cars, you drive, right? So I love driving. And so when you drive, you see the world through the windscreen of a car. And I love seeing it. And then when I was in motor racing, rallying in particular, so car rallies are generally run in very beautiful forested areas, hilly areas, away from population, away from where there is a lot of traffic. In those days, we didn't close the roads for rallies, but you went to areas where there was not so much population and people living. Okay. And I realized then that India is actually such a brilliant country. I'm fortunate to be living in such a pretty country. But I was driving fast through those places because we were competing. And I said, one day I'll come back and I'll see all these places at leisure. So that is what I have been doing now since I would say mid 80s or whenever. From then on, I have been going. I take a nice car, do a road test, and I go to pretty places. I see the architecture, our forests, the natural beauty, man-made beauty. I've just fallen in love with India then. And driving all over. So I've driven now almost, I would say, definitely more than 15 lakh kilometers, possibly 20 lakh kilometers. I've not kept a track record. Initial years, I used to maintain a logbook. So, but 1.5 to between 1.5 to 2 million kilometers across India, I've driven to all corners.
So, how is the experience when you're rallying or when you're racing and when you watched everything leisurely?
Big difference. Big difference. When you were racing against the clock. You wanted to be the fastest. And then when I started driving for leisure, I said I will not travel with a schedule. That I have to reach here at a certain time. That's what makes traveling in your own vehicle so different. If you are traveling by train, if you're traveling by bus, if you're traveling by air, you have fixed time schedules. You have to reach somewhere at a certain time. In a car, you can decide, no, I don't want to go today anywhere. I'm staying on here, or I don't like this place. I'm going somewhere else. So the car, traveling independently in your car or on your own motorcycle gives you huge freedom. That's the biggest difference. And I used that freedom fully. So, I mean, I'll tell you, there was a time a friend of mine was traveling with me, and we came to this road junction. I don't remember the cities, but one took us, I think, towards Indore, and the other took us somewhere else. And we both were not sure where to go, so we tossed a coin. I said, let's toss a coin. Heads will go right, left, otherwise, we go left. And there were two different directions, two different cities or towns that we were going through. A whole route got set that way. So that's how I used to travel. If someone told you along the way, I made some very good friends like that. So I remember once I stopped somewhere in Gujarat to eat and get some refreshments, and I was driving a modified Maruti Gypsy at that time. Someone came in, he saw the modified Gypsy, and he started talking to me. He said, "A very nice car, you've done it up beautifully," and all that. Some 200 kilometers from here, my relative lives. He's also very fond of cars. He's got some old Jeeps and all. You should go and see him someday. I said, "Why someday? I can go today." He said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah." So we made a phone call. That time there were no mobile phones, but from the booth in that place we called, and he told his friend, so and so is here. He's from Bombay. He's driving around, and he's got a very nice modified gypsy. And he said, "I'm living in the farm. Please send him over. Let him be." And those people became my very good friends. So that was the freedom of travel.
Correct. Travel does that. You make friends, you enjoy.
Yeah.
So you've enjoyed, you've made friends. Is there anything that you've learned from your travels that you can apply in your real life or work life anywhere?
I would say everything. It's an unfortunate thing that in our country, we don't have a culture where after you finish your education, graduation, whatever it be, masters, we don't take time off and go and travel. But you will see, if you look at all the foreigners, even those who come to India or any other different parts of the world, many of them are backpackers. 6 months after they finish their education and are going to, start any job or career or anything, they take time off and they go traveling, seeing the world, seeing places, experiences. So, travel, in my view, is one of the biggest teachers. It teaches you about other people, it teaches you about cultures, it teaches you about food. When you're away from your home and, in going to new places, you learn to adapt. At home, you get everything you want to. If you're living, like I've been born in Bombay and living here all my life, I know what I can have in Bombay. I know each street corner almost. There is a comfort level. But when you go to a new place, you have to adapt. Some things may be available, some may not. Then it brings in you, if you are the kind of person with an open mind, like I think I am. I like to learn new things, experience new things. Then you will meet people, they tell you, why don't you try this, go and see that. That opens your mind to what is special in that particular area, what is not. Travel is teaching, in my view. It's one of the biggest teachers of life. And everyone should experience it in that way. हमारे यहाँ what happens is that many people go on holidays, they say, to have fun. Sure, please have fun. But at the same time, if you come back home, having learned and say, oh, but that place, they do this so nicely. Why shouldn't we also? Pick up those cultures, pick up those, different, whether it's, our country's got so much variety. Every 100, 200 kilometers, the landscape changes, the food changes, people's way of talking changes, yeah, dressing changes, everything changes. So if you are able to pick up all the good things, it's only going to make you richer as a human being.
But do you not get homesick at all?
No, now, of course, I'm not traveling as much as I used to.
Hmm.
But earlier days, of course, I got homesick after, sometimes it was after 3 weeks, sometimes after 4 weeks. But then you came back home, and then after a little while, again the bug to travel bit you and said, "Chalo, let's go somewhere." So that keeps happening now. Now it's only that since I have been to most places, seen and experienced a lot of it, I now prefer going to more wildlife areas. not the crowded national parks and tiger reserves where tourists are there. I prefer going to quieter places where I can really appreciate and enjoy nature. And our cities have become very congested, very noisy. So I get sick of that now. I get sick of seeing people all the time. I get sick of seeing cars all the time. So now I try and go to places where there is forest, there are fewer people, there's no sound. If I don't hear the sound of a car's horn for 4 or 5 days, I think I've landed in paradise. Because otherwise, we are living in such noisy conditions now and polluted.
Mhm.
So I'm looking for fresh air and peace and quiet when I travel.
But today, like India's tourism, Indian tourism has like it's gotten a big boom, right? So do you think tech plays or something road connectivity development? What is the hand? Matlab, who is?
See, what's changed is that when, let's say, I was driving in the 80s or 90s, early part, cars were not as reliable. Vehicles were not, they needed regular repair and services. People were scared to go very far because infrastructure was not there. There were not so many restaurants or eating places or places to stay. We had limited infrastructure. So only the adventurous traveled. And if you had to drive far, let us say if those days you told someone, "Arey, I'm going driving from Bombay to, the Himachal Pradesh," they would, but today people do drive from South India to Ladakh and no one thinks big things about it. So those days it was impossible to imagine that. It needed a lot of preparation. You had to carry a lot of materials. Things would, like I said, even a simple thing like a decent clean meal was difficult to find. Staying places were difficult to find. Toilets were very difficult. Change in the technology has been that we have now got almost all major manufacturers making and selling cars in India. Similarly with motorcycles. So the quality of vehicles has improved tremendously. At the same time, our road infrastructure has grown. Roads have become better. Earlier, roads would get washed out. They were thin and narrow. They were not well maintained. Now, roads are better, but traffic has increased. And one thing I find which has gone bad is the driving culture. Those days, fewer people were traveling or driving and all that, and they were better drivers and better road users than we have today. So that's a bad thing. The other thing now is that I don't think if you showed anyone a compass and said, "Show me north, east, south, west," they can do it from that because they're so used to Google Maps. So all those old skills, I yet have all my physical paper maps that I used to travel with. I yet trust those more. And Google Maps just shows you a small area and region. So technology has changed, but Google Maps has made it very easy. I don't entirely like Google Maps because it is not necessarily going to take you by the most scenic route. It takes you by the shortest route, which can be sometimes very congested, all that. But if someone like me, I generally, if I'm going to a new place, I will stop at a local taxi stand or a bus stand and talk to the people. I talk to the drivers and say, I want to go to this place. How many options are there? Which route is nice? Which is pretty? Where is it quiet? So I've had times when someone told me, if you go by the highway, you will get there in 2 hours. But one guy told me, you take the other route, it may take you 4 or 5 hours, but you'll see at least 60, 70 waterfalls on the way. I said, that's the route I want to take. Now, Google Maps won't show you that route. So, yet, the human knowledge of talking to people and getting this is that's why I have made wonderful discoveries like this talking to the local people. And that's something I will continue to do. It's nothing like getting local knowledge as of that particular day from Google Maps won't tell you that yesterday there was a landslide in that place and the road is broken and stopped. But when you talk to people, you get to know all these things. And particularly if you ask someone, where can I see? Someone told me once, oh, that route is a longer route. The road is narrow and all. But it's got a beautiful viewpoint where you can see all the mountains from there. I said, that's the route I want to go by.
As a traveler, how much can you rely on technology while traveling?
Nowadays, of course, technology is very good. Like I said, cars and vehicles are very reliable. You really don't have to worry about that. Service networks are very good, so you don't have to worry about that. Technology, I really don't know. I personally prefer to switch off my phone when I'm on holiday rather than be disturbed by people and continuously looking at WhatsApp forwards and someone telling you good morning and sending you all these forwards. So it depends how much you want to use technology and for what. Yes, I do carry a laptop. which I put on occasionally where there is Wi-Fi just to see my emails and things like that. But it's a choice you have to make. So I guess if you want to yet carry all your technology everywhere, it's possible to do it today. Now I know people who ask first, "Ki wahan Wi-Fi hai ki nahi?" before deciding whether they want to go to a destination. Whereas my question is opposite. I say if there is no network there, I'll enjoy that place more. So it's personal choices. Unfortunately, we've become so addicted to our personal devices, gizmos, technology, that you're not able to detach from it. I like to detach, and so I'm very happy where it's not available.
So again, speaking of technology and automobile, so as an automobile expert, I'll call you. So what do you think about electric vehicles? Where are they going?
See, there is no two ways that the future is electric. Yeah. Now, how quickly and should you actually be using coal energy to charge electric vehicles is a big question. So, for example, now in India, most of the electricity we generate is via burning coal. And if you are going to use that to charge your electric vehicles, what's happening is you're just moving the pollution away from the tailpipe of a car to the chimney of your coal plants. That is in my view. So it has to be electric vehicles will help reduce pollution in a big way when they are charged with other alternative forms of energy like solar power, wind energy, hydropower. If you use all those to charge electric vehicles, it makes a lot of sense. We in India, unfortunately, are going down the electric vehicle route, but I think we are doing it a little too quickly without the correct infrastructure and without having enough eco-friendly sources of electricity. So, is it really going to help reduce our pollution? I wish it does, but I don't think it will. Right? At the same time, for some reason, I don't know why we have not looked at hybrid electric vehicles that charge themselves. So you have an electric motor and a battery, and you have a regular smaller engine. So, and you don't have to worry about where you're getting your next charge from. You're getting because it's your car's, regular internal combustion engine that is charging your battery. So hybrids actually would have been a very good interim solution for India before we moved completely to electric. Now certain companies are introducing hybrids. Yeah, Toyota and Maruti and Lexus and all have been doing hybrids. They are getting popular, but it's yet not in the bigger way that it should have been. So in my view, the transition should have been internal combustion engines to hybrids and electric. And by the time all the infrastructure and everything is ready. But we usually in India tend to jump two steps forward. So we've jumped to the electric vehicles, and now some people are saying, no, we are yet not ready for it all completely. So hybrids are there as a solution. But yes, I think the future is electric, but we need to definitely improve the charging infrastructure and make sure the charging happens via alternative eco-friendly ways of electricity rather than burning more and more coal.
So, just a minute. Is it going? It's going, right? Do you need water?
No, I'm fine.
Because we're 18 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we were at EV, yeah. So, do you think there is some brand that will dominate the market? Or is it like too soon to judge?
See, electric vehicles are, how do I say, they have changed the game completely. To make a regular vehicle that has an engine, that has a gearbox, that has differentials, that has all this, there is a huge amount of, how do I say, manufacturing capacity involved, technology and know-how involved. Electric vehicles are very simple by and large. You need batteries and motors, and the rest of the body of the car and the wheels and suspension. Most electric cars don't even have a gearbox or anything. So it's like assembling. Like today, when people assemble a smartphone or they assemble a computer is the best example. You get the motherboard from somewhere, you get the RAM from somewhere, you get this, and you just are buying things from suppliers and assembling and presenting a vehicle. Not all electric vehicle manufacturers are doing that. Many manufacturers are investing a lot in research and development and making their own electric vehicles. But particularly in the electric two-wheeler space, what we are seeing in India is that every day almost I get a press release saying so and so electric two-wheeler has come into the market. So I've stopped even keeping track. I don't know how many two-wheeler electric manufacturers there are in India, but I can tell you on an average, one new one comes every day. And I don't know how many are disappearing and shutting shop also. I'm sure that is happening alongside. So what are they doing? They need a small place where you're assembling. You need few workers. You need a place to, someone supplies you the body, someone supplies you the battery, someone supplies you this, a wiring harness is supplied by someone, and you put it together and assemble it. So going forward, who's going to lead in this electric vehicle space is very difficult. It could be someone completely new. Presently, Tesla is talking of all sorts of new technology, cutting edge in the Western world. In the United States, it's all about Tesla. At the same time, Apple will be entering the space, and so many others. It could be anyone, but I think the established manufacturers who have years and years or hundreds of some manufacturers have been making cars for over 100 years, 120 years, 25 years. I think they will always have the edge.
So, but I've heard that when you're driving an electric vehicle, people have a lot of anxiety for the range anxiety because it can only travel so far. Matlab, it can give you 70 kilometers by far.
So, life by and large is anyway stressful. Why do you need to have that range anxiety? I am fully in agreement with that. I don't like the idea that if I'm driving a vehicle, I may run out of charge, and then I'm dependent on looking for a charger, which I may or may not find. And if I don't find, then where do I go and charge it from and go and request someone in a restaurant or somewhere and charge it? That's why I prefer the hybrids as of today. Yes, once we have a very wide charging infrastructure, yes, but it's not happening anytime soon. So range anxiety is something people will have to learn to live with. Yes, as time goes by, the vehicle ranges are increasing, but that's again with the more expensive manufacturers, and the longer range the vehicle has, the more expensive it is. So it is a question of cost also and affordability. So it will happen eventually. I think 10 years from now, we should be in a better position to say, yes, EVs are, more ready. But as of today, I don't want that range anxiety. So I wouldn't use it driving trips. If I was to use an electric vehicle, I'd only use it in the city. I won't take it for an intercity trip for sure.
I was just about to ask that. As a traveler, do you think electric vehicles will work?
People have done it. Some people have been driving Delhi to Bombay and here, there, but they are doing it for records and to prove it can be done. Of course, it can be done if you have already decided on a fixed route, you've decided where you're going to charge and you're putting that time. But would I take it and venture into areas where the infrastructure is not there? I wouldn't travel with an electric vehicle for sure. Not yet.
So we also know, on another note, that you have a YouTube channel now and you're putting in videos. So could you tell us a little about that and what should we expect next?
See, I've been, like I said, in the print media since 36 years. I've edited half a dozen odd magazines, auto magazines, and I've written about it. In the print media, what happened when the COVID pandemic struck is everyone was locked indoors. Even newspapers were not published for the first few months and things like that. So everything moved to the digital media space, especially the visual media space. During that time, a lot of people said, "Oh, how we wish you were making videos and sharing things with us." So it was people and friends and colleagues and some others who said, "No, you should be in this space. This is now where everyone is, looking and things like that." So I said, "All right, let's try, give it a shot." It's just a change of medium. At the end, it's you write a story here, you'll tell a story or show a story. The difference is that. So I started my YouTube channel, which has gone live just recently, 4-5 weeks back.
Okay.
And fortunately, the response has been very positive and encouraging. So going forward, I plan on making, hopefully, quite a few short films on different themes and subjects, be it wildlife, be it, our historical monuments, our culture, history, whatever.
So we are really looking forward to that. And now that we've covered a lot, can we like end it on a like a simple note? And could you give the new travelers, the ones who want to explore India, some tips that they should keep in mind before they head out to travel?
See, recently I was very disappointed to read in the newspapers how people have been going and behaving in Ladakh. For example, there was someone who went and drove in the Pangong Tso Lake. Then that couple who's recently been fined 50,000 who went and drove on the Nubra sand dunes in Ladakh. Then there were some people who were smoking near a Buddhist shrine, sitting on the shrine, and the prayer wheels are there and all, and the local Buddhist people, of course, they're very non-violent. In another part of the country, the people would have got beaten up that you're sitting and drinking and smoking in our temple or our holy place. So first thing is I would tell everyone is you have to respect the local culture, the local people, the local landscape and environment. I mean, what pleasure does someone go and get from driving in the Pangong Tso Lake? It is one of the world's most pristine and prettiest spots. And you go and do something as stupid as that. Someone recently in Goa drove the car onto the beach and they got stuck and all that. And the Goans were very unhappy with it. People come to the Goan beach to relax, to sunbathe, to swim, whatever. And you're going driving into the beach, into the sea. I mean, that is completely unacceptable to me. So, respect for people and cultures and environment is very, very important. The second thing is, which Indian tourists generally are not too, aware of, is learning about. You'll find a foreign tourist who comes to India, they will have read up completely on where they are going, what is to be seen, what is the significance of something, whether it is history, whether it's street food, to anything. They read up on a place, they have knowledge. Indian tourists don't. We travel, most of them travel without a sense of understanding. So I'll tell you, recently I had some of my wife's friends came over and we were having a conversation, and she said we went to Corbett Tiger Reserve and all. We didn't like it at all. What a place. We didn't see no tiger. It is supposed to be a tiger reserve. We didn't see. I said, go to the zoo in Baikala and you'll see the tiger for sure. I said, you're not going to a zoo. You're going to a tiger reserve that is spread over huge area, mountainous area, rivers, jungles, and you expect the tiger to be waiting there to present itself to you. Go to a zoo. No, but we didn't see it. It's an overrated place. So then I asked her, did you see birds? Oh, we saw many birds. All the time the birds were calling. I said, were you able to identify a single bird? No. But what? There were many birds. Some were very colorful. Some were very big. I said, you have gone to a bird watcher's paradise. Bird watching groups come from all over Europe, come from all over the world to India to see the birds. Those people carry with them a list. If they go back from India saying we saw 200 birds in India, they become celebrities in their country. I said, you have those birds in front of you, you don't care about them. You don't know their names, you don't identify them, you are not interested. Carry a bird watcher's book with you. Corbett, you would have found it a paradise. Come home and then you say, in Bombay, I only see crows and pigeons and occasionally I see a sparrow. 3 birds you've seen in your life. Now here you went, you saw maybe 200 birds and you didn't appreciate. Whose fault is it? Yours. You don't have the knowledge. You don't have the interest. So this is the problem. We Indians generally don't have the appreciation of what is there in our country. So I would ask people to go, whether it's old monuments, whether it is old this thing, try and learn upon it, read upon it. You will come back a richer person. A human being with knowledge is a richer person than a human being with a big bank balance. The bank balance to me means less than actually having knowledge and experiences in your life to talk about.
So I really enjoyed this conversation, sir. Thank you so much for joining Sociobits, and it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much again.